Donald Trump's economy just smashed economists' expectations, and is exactly what he needs right now, frankly, because as I'm going to show you, the economy is where he is falling in the polls. This is according to Newsweek. They say in Thursday morning's release, the Bureau of Labor Statistics said the U.S. economy added 119,000 jobs in September. The figure was more than double consensus forecasts of 50,000. August 22,000 gain, however, was downwardly revised to negative 4,000. So there was a lot of consumer sentiment out there that the jobs were not good, that we were losing jobs. It turns out that was right, and that honestly had a large impact on the November election. However, what we're seeing now is we more than gained that back in September, again, to the tune of 119,000 jobs. And this has been the case now for almost half of Trump's job stats reports. What we're seeing is that they project something and Trump continually over surprises people. He consistently outperforms what they project. You can see from this graphic from Fox News that not only are these for native-born jobs, but foreign-born jobs are actually going away. And frankly, if you're America First, you like this graphic. Native-born are up 2 million so far through Trump's presidency, whereas foreign-born is down 543,000. Those are H-1B visas. Those are deportations, things like that. And again, that's not just good for the country as a whole, but it's really important to Trump's base who cares about America first. He needs that excitement for Republicans if they want to win in the midterms. In terms of approval rating right now, things do not look great for Trump, especially on the economy. This just came out. This is from Fox News. What you can see is that 61% disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy, and only 38% approve and 1% don't know. I don't know how you don't know. You either like the economy or you don't. But 38% approval is not good. I mean, it's just not. And you could say, hey, it's not rooted in the truth, that the voters are falling to propaganda from the mainstream media. That's certainly true, but it kind of doesn't matter. That's always the case. Like, the mainstream media is always going to do that. The question is, what is Trump going to do about it? Trump has to do a lot more if he wants to remain in power. It's just that simple. And when I say that, what I mean is the midterms going well for Republicans and J.D. Vance winning in 2028. If you look at it, all of this comes down to the economy. It honestly doesn't have a lot to do with immigration. Kind of it does. It actually does have a lot to do with immigration, but not directly. It doesn't have a lot to do with foreign policy at all. Like, really doesn't. It doesn't have anything to do with the culture wars. It's all about the economy. This is a report that just came out, and this is something I've tried so hard to tell Republicans. This is an AJC poll, and it's the top issues. The question was, what is the single most important issue facing Georgia today? And obviously, Georgia is a swing state, so I think it is relevant. And what you see is, out of all the questions, about 4 of them actually have to do with the economy. So the first one just says directly economy, jobs. Under that is taxes. I think that gets tied in with the economy. The third one's immigration. I actually think that gets tied into economy as well. You've got inflation / cost of living. That goes into the economy. And I would say maybe healthcare goes into economy, since it's one of our largest costs just from day to day. If you look, though, the number 1 and number 2 are directly economy / jobs and inflation / cost of living. 14% of Republican voters said economy and jobs was their top. 15%. I mean, if you look at the graph, if you can see, if you're watching and you're not listening, it's almost symmetrical, meaning Democrats and Republicans actually care about the same issues. The only issue where that's not true is the very bottom, is standing up to Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. So obviously Republicans aren't going to say that. It would be the reverse if Democrats were in charge. I'm sure 20% of Republican voters would say that's their top issue. That 20% are the politically radicalized ones, frankly. Normal people care about inflation, cost of living, taxes, economy, immigration. The only one that doesn't have to do with any of those things that is significant, I would say, is education. 8% of Republican voters say that's their top, 7% of Democrat, which it's important, sure, right? But the rest all have to do with the economy, and it makes sense. That is what affects you on a daily basis. I'm not saying the other things don't affect you. I'm just saying that matters more than all the rest. And frankly, when it comes to elections, your top issue tends to be the thing that pulls you over the edge. Everyone's got 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all fine. That's important. But one is really what's going to affect what you do with your vote. It is always the economy. It's always been the economy. It's been that way for maybe the entire history of the United States. It's not a new thing. Trump could do nothing, again, on abortion, crime, political division, gun violence, education, climate change, or activism. And this is according to that poll, I'm saying this. And if he just crushed it on the economy, Republicans will win the midterms. And J.D. Vance will win in 2028. I solidly believe that. I think there's a huge historical basis for that. The polls show it. It's just a fact. Now, one area that Trump is doing quite well in, but I think should hit even harder, is wage growth. If you look at this data, what you see with wage growth is this is for real wage growth for production and non-supervisory workers, which is blue-collar workers mostly, and this is obviously something Trump has made a large part of not just his second term, but his first term on. What you can see is that this wage growth decreased under Bush, Obama, and Biden, hugely under Biden. They lost 1.7% of their growth. Whereas the only time this century it has grown was both during Trump's first term and his second term, and his second term is going even better, up 1.7%. So if you look at the numbers, wage growth is happening under Trump, and that's huge. This is a story that Trump's team needs to work on telling. I'm just not hearing this from them. I have to dig, because I do this for a living, but the average person's not going to see that graph. He's got to hit it harder. Now, it's not all on Trump, obviously. The other side of this is Congress. Mike Johnson, John Thune, Republicans in general, they've got to figure this out if they want to win the midterms. Sure, Donald Trump is effectively the leader of the Republican Party, and if he wants Republicans to win, he's got to do a lot. But Congress is actually the one who is up for the vote, right? I mean, Trump's not going to lose the election because he's not up for election. Congressional Republicans need to pick up the slack. They've got a couple months max at this point to pass legislation to help the economy because obviously things in the economy take time. Most true economic things are going to take 2-3 years. Hopefully some smaller legislation could help the economy do better in a matter of months. Hopefully. I think we forget sometimes that presidents are only in for 8 years max. Usually 8, sometimes 4. And some of these people in Congress have literally been in for 40 years. And it's like, what have you done for the economy? Most of them have done bad things because they've continued spending, which increases inflation. And my question for the Republicans are like, why are you not passing conservative economic legislation? If you want to win and you look at the data, these are not stupid people. You look at the data, you see that Americans care about the economy more than anything, and you want to win election. It's not that complicated. Like, just go pass conservative economic legislation that works. I'm talking about deregulation. I'm talking about drill, baby, drill, which we're doing better on. Gas is coming down. I'm talking about reforming entitlement programs. That's got to happen. I'm not saying take away old people's Social Security. There are ways to do this where everyone gets their money, but you don't do it in a stupid, stupid way. And the fact that Republicans are unwilling to touch it, I think, just shows that they're basically unwilling to win their elections. That's going to have a much bigger effect, all those things I just mentioned, than anything that President Trump could do. Because again, the president really doesn't have as much economic power as we like to say they do. And if he gets, if a Republican does not get elected in 2028, all of his executive orders are going to get reversed anyway. Meanwhile, on the foreign policy side of things, CNN this week was forced to report the truth, which, much to my surprise, that doesn't happen very often. They came out, showed the hard data that Trump is the single most effective, popular person on foreign policy this century. Here it is.
Approve of Trump on foreign policy at this point in term one. Look, Donald Trump was just at a 35% approval rating, up like a rocket. We're talking about 43% now. That's an 8-point rise. On the net approval rating, we're talking about a double-digit rise. The American people like much more of what they're seeing from Donald Trump in foreign policy in term two than they did in term number one.
So often presidents in their second term, usually later in their second term, frankly, will turn to foreign policy. So how does President Trump compare to past presidents in their second term?
This to me is one of the most interesting data points because normally when we look at these data points, we see that Trump is doing worse than other presidents. But on this one, he is doing significantly better because take a look here. All right, 21st century foreign policy approval rating at this point in term two. George W. Bush was down at 36%. Barack Obama was at 37%. Look at this. Donald Trump actually leads the pack at 43%. Donald Trump has a higher foreign policy approval rating at this point in a second term than any other president who served their entire second term in the 21st century. This is something I think Donald Trump really likes to look at because the bottom line is this. Presidents like to build their legacies off of foreign policy. And at this particular point, the American people like much more of what Donald Trump's doing on foreign policy than either of the two other 21st century presidents who served at least or serve 2 terms.
Good chances of being screen grabbed and framed
Yes.
and taken to the Oval Office very shortly here. How about specifically how voters feel about what the president did in Israel and Gaza?
Yeah, I think part of the reason why Donald Trump is significantly higher than either Obama or Bush is what happened with Donald Trump able to help formulate a peace deal between the Israelis and Hamas. What are we talking about? Net approval rating, Israel-Hamas conflict. Look at this. Joe Biden was 37 points below water by the end of his presidency. Way down there. Look at Donald Trump. Actually in the positive area. Look at this. A +3 net approval rating. The American people liked what Trump was able to do between the Israelis and Hamas. And that, I think, is a large part of the reason why his foreign policy is at the apex compared to other 2-term presidents this century.
I would be surprised if this was any other way. Because let's review for a second. We had Bush, whose grand strategy for the United States was essentially a conservative primacy, which means that he just went in, right? For everything. When he wanted something, he went in. If you wanted oil, you invade Iraq. If you want a better ally with a country, you don't employ soft power. He would just go stage a coup in that country. That's what he did. And then you've got Obama and Biden. They weren't much different. I would say the only difference really is that they added the international institutions into everything, which is worse because they love the UN and the UN hates America. They let everyone take advantage of us, especially the EU, another international institution. When it comes to defense spending, that was what one of the things that made Trump so popular, so famous, is when he went to the EU and just wrecked house. And everyone looked at him and said, that's America first. Like, stop taking advantage of us. That's not something that Bush, Obama, and Biden understand. We've got Trump, who's just pragmatic. I mean, if you look at his grand strategy, people have tried to pin down, like, is he restraint? Is he deep engagement? Like, what are these things that he believes? It's like, Trump is just logic. He's just pragmatic. He does what the actual people want. He tells our enemies that he's going to obliterate them. He strikes quickly, but he doesn't try to engage in these prolonged entanglements. And he respects our sovereignty as well with immigration in a way that no other president really has this century. So, of course, in my mind, he's going to be the most popular on foreign policy, and he is. The progressive left is a cult, guys. I talk all about it in my book, A New Cult. Go check it out right now. I talk about some crazy stories that I'm not able to talk about on YouTube. But fortunately, when you write your own book, no one can censor you because it's yours. That's why I wrote it. Go check it out right now. The link is in the description below. It was only a matter of time before something like this happened to Candace Owens this week. Candace got an anonymous tip about more information about Charlie Kirk, since Candace has made hundreds of thousands of dollars so far for theorizing about made-up evidence regarding one of her friends' assassinations. Here is what Candace said happened.
Well, like I said, someone emailed us and we took our time vetting this tip. We vetted it across multiple government agencies and to really the highest levels of government. So this is legit. I've printed it out and I'm going to read around some parts, removing some parts to provide this individual, who, by the way, I have no idea who this is, but to give him and her even some more coverage. They're taking a tremendous risk, so I'm just going to read this to you guys.
Okay, so she gets the tip, pretends to do her due diligence, which she does not do, as we'll talk about, and then she reads what the tip actually said.
Candace, I'm aware that you suspect the government and other entities are involved in the events leading up to and on September 10th. You might have been wondering why SUBTT made so many visits to Wilmington, Delaware, out of all places, and I can personally answer that. The information I am giving you will implicate the FBI and various other government agencies all at the same time. I am entirely confident in stating that the plane and those vehicles are connected to 920 North King Street, which is at a place that is marketed also as 1 Rodney Square.
Okay, pause for a moment. So the plane that she supposedly is talking about is an Egyptian registered plane, which she says flew into Provo Airport, which, by the way, happens to be about 5 minutes away from my house, as was Charlie's assassination. And the tip says it went to Delaware after. We continue.
Where? And here's where it gets big. In June of 1997, the Department of Justice's own directory lists, quote, Wilmington Residence Office, 1 Rodney Square, Suite 404, 920 King Street, Wilmington, Delaware, 19801. That is your line to know that it is a federal resident office, 920 North King Street. And at the same address, the United States Secret Service, 920 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware, 19801.
Okay, so Candace says that this anonymous tip is solid, it's vetted, it's interesting information. And now, by the way, we can add the FBI, the Secret Service, and the DEA to the list of people that she says has assassinated Charlie Kirk. You can add it to the list of Erica Kirk, TPUSA, Donald Trump, Mormons, all those people. Now, there's more. Here's the problem with all of that and all the things she just said. The address that was given to her that she's talking about from Delaware is the address from her lawyer.
I read this, checked it, verified it. One Rodney Square, 920 King Street, Wilmington, Delaware, 19801. I am passing this to you because you are honest enough to see this for what it is.
So whoever this brilliant person was, who's my hero, truly, sent her an anonymous tip about her own lawyer to prove that she just does not take any info in and not put it out there. She does not vet this stuff at all. She takes it in, takes a tip, she just pushes it out. She does not do any vetting. She had no idea that this was the address of her lawyer. And this person, in the most savage way possible, I think, has perfectly showed that this whole thing has been for Candace all along. What it's been. Random things that she makes up. She gets sent it maybe. She doesn't verify at all. And she does the same thing every single day. What she'll do, she goes to X, tells everyone she's going to drop a bombshell. Go to her X. You'll see literally 50 of these tweets out saying, biggest show ever, guys. You've never seen anything like this. I have new exclusive information that I vetted so hard, and it's coming out today. And then she proceeds to tell us about something that she has no proof for at all. We already knew it was happening. Anyone with a brain knew this was happening. But now we've got proof. Proof, evidence, a concept that Candace Owens, unfortunately, is not aware exists. Hey guys, I wanted to invite you to subscribe to my new Substack. Substack's a weekly newsletter that comes right to your email and it's completely free to you. I talk about things that I'm not able to get to on the show, or frankly, I can't talk about because big tech would censor me. Fortunately, Substack's really fantastic. They never censor me. Go check it out right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching today's show, everybody. Please like the video so other great patriots like yourselves will see it, and you can tune in every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show, or you can watch another video right here.